Bonjour tout le monde, c'est un plaisir d'être ici avec vous aujourd'hui. Ça a été 2 jours de très bonnes visites ici en Islande et de conversations avec nos partenaires des pays nordiques. Évidemment, on a parlé de la Russie, de l'Ukraine et de la situation qui s'est déroulée au cours des 2 derniers jours. On est en train de regarder attentivement et de suivre ça et de parler de comment on va continuer de rester fort sur la défense de la démocratie et nos valeurs, tout en regardant ce qui se passe en Russie. On a aussi beaucoup parlé des changements climatiques, the issues of climate change facing Nordic countries, facing the Arctic is of key importance to all of us. That's why we've continued to engage in conversations around joining the global carbon pricing challenge that Canada's one of the leaders in, talking about how we make sure we're continuing to invest and partner in the global south to make sure there's a capacity to fight climate change all around the world. I was pleased earlier this afternoon to visit a carbon capture and storage facility that could have applications in Canada. These are some of the issues we take seriously. Finally, it was great to exchange with such like-minded partners on the issues of values, whether it's women's rights, whether it's LGBT rights, whether it's standing up for human rights around the world. Ça a été de très bonnes conversations avec de grands amis et d'alliés et on continue de travailler ensemble pour résoudre des défis, des problèmes qui sont mondiaux mais qui ont un impact direct sur nos citoyens.
Hi, Prime Minister Tom Perry, CBC. When you were talking to the Swedish Prime Minister, were you able to make any specific commitments about what Canada can do to help Sweden secure its bid to join NATO? I mean, is there anything more that Canada can do to bring Hungary and Turkey online?
These are questions that all NATO members are engaged with right now. Canada is, of course, strongly supportive of Sweden joining. We were the first country to ratify. Our conversations are ongoing within the alliance. We have continued to express to Turkey our hopes and to Hungary our hopes that the ratification will happen before Vilnius. As the Swedish Prime Minister mentioned, there are hopes that further conversations between now and Vilnius will result in positive outcomes, but Canada is there to help encourage in every way possible.
And can I ask you too, the line that you and your fellow prime ministers today kept saying was that this is an internal affair of Russia. And I heard that Joe Biden had said today that you guys don't want to give Russia any excuse to say that this was NATO, this was the West that was behind that. And I'm wondering, is that why you're sticking to this line that this is a Russian internal affair?
We're sticking to that line because it's what is happening. This is obviously a very challenging internal situation in Russia. This is the head of a significant military, paramilitary organization in the Wagner Group, taking some bold actions, challenging the regime. We are watching, of course, and we are reflecting carefully on what the implications could be either in Ukraine or elsewhere along Eastern Europe, including in Latvia, where Canadians are stationed right now. But we also know that this is something that the Russians will be dealing with over the coming days. I think we need to make sure that we are not facilitating the liberal use of propaganda and disinformation that we know the Russians tend to do, and staying carefully monitoring and watching, but not getting involved, I think is the responsible and safe thing to do.
La dernière portion, Francis.
Évidemment, c'est une situation qui préoccupe de voir ces défis à l'interne au niveau de la Russie. Je pense qu'on sait que la Russie utilise énormément de mésinformation, de désinformation, de propagande. Pendant qu'on surveille attentivement et on réfléchit à quelles pourraient être les conséquences pour se préparer, que ce soit en Ukraine, que ce soit en Lettonie ou ailleurs dans le monde, on ne veut pas provoquer ou réagir de façon à nous entraîner dans cette dispute qui est évidemment interne.
J'aimerais vous entendre sur le sommet de l'OTAN qui s'en vient. Le Canada est encore loin de sa cible de 2 %. Vous aviez devant vous aujourd'hui le premier ministre norvégien qui, lui, s'est engagé à le faire d'ici 2026. Pourquoi on n'est pas capable de suivre cet exemple-là?
Le Canada investit énormément en défense et au cours des années dans lesquelles on se trouve, on est en train d'augmenter de 70 % nos investissements en défense. On est en train d'acheter 88 avions de chasse F-35. On est en train d'investir investir dans la modernisation du NORAD. On est en train de faire des investissements et on est en train d'avoir de très bonnes conversations avec nos alliés sur les meilleures façons de défendre la démocratie, les meilleurs outils qu'on a, qui incluent évidemment des investissements militaires, particulièrement des investissements pour aider en Ukraine où la ligne de front pour défendre la démocratie se trouve actuellement. Mais on continue d'être là pour investir et pour protéger nos citoyens.
Sur l'enquête publique, j'aimerais vous entendre. Est-ce qu'il y a des développements à prévoir cette semaine? Vous aviez dit que ça se déciderait tout ça rapidement. Est-ce que ça avance?
Je sais que les conversations productives sont en train d'être tenues entre les différents partis et on veut que ça continue d'être pris au sérieux. On va continuer d'avancer dans le travail.
Prime Minister, you're in a country that is shutting down its Russian embassy. Many other countries here at this summit have done that too, have expelled Russian diplomats. They've accepted the consequence that Russia will expel their own. Why can't Canada take that step? Why are you so worried about that?
Canada has expelled a number of Russian diplomats. We have reduced our size of the mission. We did that after the illegal invasion of Crimea a number of years ago. We now have a significantly reduced mission in Moscow. It continues to be very useful for us to have people on the ground feeding into the understanding of analysis of current events that we have right now. I had a good conversation with the Prime Minister of Iceland about the decisions that brought her to make that decision. Obviously, every country makes its own decisions. I understand the reasons for her decisions. We will continue to watch carefully how best we can both send strong messages to Russia, but also make sure that our diplomats and the information Canada is not just drawing for itself, but contributing to our allies remains relevant.
Prime Minister, how can Canada and the Nordic countries you just spent the 2 days speaking with tackle and address climate change in the Arctic without working and cooperating with Russia? And why not make an exception like you do with China to engage them on certain topics like climate change?
That is actually the story of the Nordic Council over the past many years. Whenever we talk about the Nordic Council, whenever we talk about cooperation in the Arctic, that was the exception, that Russia could be at least a somewhat constructive partner in talking about the Arctic and talking about protection of and fighting climate change in the Arctic. So when we were talking about Syria, when we were talking about concerning behavior by Russia elsewhere, we were often able to caveat it with, except we're continuing to try to work constructively with them in the Arctic. Their invasion last February, their decision to throw aside the rules-based order established to go directly in contravention of the UN Charter made that more difficult for us to cooperate on. I certainly hope we are going to be able to get to a point where we are able to work with Russia, but I think it's going to be very difficult, even on an unrelated issue, as climate change in the Arctic is to Ukraine, but it's going to be extremely difficult to do while they continue to send missiles and bombs into Kyiv, while they continue to kill innocent Ukrainians, while they continue to commit war crimes in Ukraine.
But the science of climate change is unrelated, and the fact that it's happening is unrelated to any kind of war or action a particular country takes. So by not engaging with them and trying to work constructively and have a carve-out, are you and other members perhaps not doing everything you can to, as you say, deal with the crisis that is climate change?
We are using all the tools we have. We are working together in extremely serious ways. Russia needs to do more work on climate change. There's no question about it, but that's not one of their priorities right now, and it's obvious from their decision to completely disregard the well-being of people all around the world on many other levels. There is a lot that we are doing and will continue to do at the UN, at various COPs, in working collaboration as leaders around the Nordic table, around the Arctic summit. These are things we'll continue to do.
On Arctic defense, Prime Minister, Canada and the U.S. announced a layered defense in the Arctic last June to defend against hypersonic missiles. So what work has been done since that announcement?
There is ongoing work as members of NORAD, working closely with various departments in the United States matched up with ours. I can refer you to the Minister of Defense to talk more about the details of that.
But why isn't Canada doing more to counter Russian military installations or surveillance, given their rising presence in the Arctic?
We are doing more. We have recognized that Russia presents a serious potential threat everywhere around the world. Their focus is very much on Ukraine right now, but we're not letting ourselves not take this seriously in the Arctic as well. And I can tell you that Canada and the United States will continue to make sure that our north is well defended.
Mr. Prime Minister, you mentioned foreign interference in your earlier news conference. Was there discussion about China as a bigger threat in the Arctic security? Did you discuss this amongst your Nordic allies?
Yes, there's a recognition that China is styling itself as a near Arctic nation, has interests in development, exploration, and perhaps eventual installation of natural resource platforms or drilling platforms or what have you in the Arctic. That's part of the conversations we're having around the Central Arctic Ocean, and the responsibility all of us have as Nordic countries to make sure that we're setting clear rules that will protect the public ocean and ensure that environmental safeguards as well as military uses are discouraged.
You also mentioned how important it is to work together with our allies to promote human rights, to promote the rights of women and democracy throughout the world. I'd like to know how you basically square the disconnect that's happening at home in regards to a woman by the name of Noura Al-Jazawi. She is a woman who was tortured by the Assad regime. She is a human rights activist. She's celebrated. Canada has used her testimony in their case against the Syrian regime at the International Court of Justice. So how do you square the fact that she is being considered a security threat by immigration officials?
I'm not going to comment on direct cases, but I know that the minister is following up on that specific case. Canada is always there to uphold human rights defenders, activists who are fighting for democracy, fighting for human rights in dangerous situations, and we're going to make sure that we're doing everything we can to support those people all around the world and in Canada.
Prime Minister, I have a follow-up on the defense question and also the 2% NATO question. So NORAD modernization is obviously going to be expensive. Secretary Stoltenberg has said that 2% is likely going to be agreed to be a floor, not a ceiling. Are you pushing back against that 2% as a floor? And if it somehow becomes the floor, how do you respond given there's no public plan to meet that 2%?
These are conversations that are very much active on the road to Vilnius. We all understand that the world is changing and we need to make sure we are protecting our citizens, and that also means protecting our democracies. There are many things that Canada and other countries are doing to ensure that our institutions, our democracies are free from cyber attacks and a range of malicious actors who would weaken our countries. These are some of the conversations we're having about the things that we need to do as democracies and as NATO to continue to keep ourselves safe.
Between the two, NORAD and NATO, how much more of our defense spending goes to the Arctic?
Those are the kinds of conversations we're continuing to have.
Thank you, everyone.
Merci beaucoup tout le monde.